everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Erica with Memory Box Candle Co. and I make videos all about making and selling candles. And today's video is very different than any video I've done before in the past. I just thought it would be a lot of fun for me to react to one of my really early on candle making YouTube videos. It's called How to Make Soy Candles at Home, Easy Homemade DIY Candles. This was filmed October of 2019, so about 2.5 years ago. And this was at the very beginning of my candle business journey of getting started with candle making. I really haven't watched this video in a long time, so I don't really know the information that I have in it. So we're just going to watch it together and see the kind of information that I have to give to you all. Oh, and I do remember before filming this video that I was going to head into work shortly after. So I was trying to get this video filmed, and I remember just being in the midst of having my eBay reselling business, which was helping to fuel my candle business. And I also had my day job at the same time, and I was trying to add YouTube in there as well. So it was a lot going on at once. So I'm just curious, you know, kind of the information that I give in this video. Hi guys, welcome to today's video. I'm actually going to be going over how to make a soy candle from start to finish. I'm filming on my balcony right now, so I apologize if there's any background noises from just, you know, everyday people. So I'm going to be going over everything that I use and how to make a soy candle from start to finish. And the first thing that I did was, so right over here is my double boiler. So right on here is I have my camera on the table. That doesn't work out.
It's about 1/2 inch to 1 inch deep full of water. And I have my tiny little pitcher here. I really want to get a bigger one. And what I'm going to do is
I started out with just the 1 pound one
with 169 grams of wax. So we are going to be just making one candle.
169
and this
grams
is a 9-ounce jar, and it takes 169 grams to fill it up right to where it ends right there.
So I'm mentioning right there how I'm going to fill it up with 169 grams of wax because that's how much it fills up to. But what I didn't take into account was the weight of the fragrance oil. That was something I think early on, before I had my math formula down and everything, that was something that I think that I struggled with a little bit. I didn't understand that that added the volume and the weight to the overall candle. So I'm assuming I'm going to put 169 grams of wax, and I'm curious how much fragrance oil, because with those 9-ounce straight sided jars, in total with the wax and the fragrance oil, it can hold about 198 grams or about 7 ounces of the total wax and fragrance oil together. So I'm curious how much I'm going to be adding, like 19 grams, 20 grams of fragrance oil. I don't know. That seems like too much for that. I'm going to see what I do.
So I'm going to take my little scale. This is a pocket scale. Again,
wreck
I need
that
to get
with
another
fragrance
one.
oil.
And I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to put this right on top, and then I'm going to tare it. So that just means that it's going to go back to 0.
Way too big to
weight
be
is in there,
measuring
it's going to show up
on
as
that
the
little
actual
scale.
weight and not the weight plus the pitcher.
That's true.
The wax that I use is called Soy 10, and it's a soy and I think it's soy and beeswax, but only just a very little amount of beeswax.
Nope. Soy 10 is not beeswax. There's no beeswax in Soy 10. There is a little bit of paraffin in it, but there's no beeswax, although with the formulation that I do with my candles, I do actually add in a little bit of beeswax to it. So that's ironic, but there's no beeswax in Soy 10.
And unfortunately, it doesn't come in the flakes that the 464 golden wax does. It comes in a huge slab. So what I have to do is I take this kitchen frosting
I remember using that.
I cut it open. Cut it open. I slice it into little blocks. And then that way it is easier for me to just pick through and get the right amount. So I'm just going through. Okay, so now it's at 175.2, so that's a little bit too much. So I'm just gonna go in and try to take some of it away. Oh, Okay, so it's 169.4. That's totally fine. I don't mind if it's like a few
That's how I still feel that
points
way.
off
I'm
from
not
the
very
amount.
particular with that.
So I'm gonna put this away, put the wax down, and then I'm going to put the candle thermometer in here.
My first thermometer.
And
I got that at I think I got it at Michael's.
Go ahead and put it in there anyways. So while that is heating up, I'm going to go over how I prepped the candle. So if you can see, there's a little red dot at the bottom of that where I placed the wick. So I use this red RTV gasket maker. So I definitely got the idea of that from Jeff Stanley because I watched a lot of his videos getting started with candle making. And I remember him using the red RTV glue, which I'm sure some of you use as well. I used that in the beginning of my candle making, so that just kind of makes me smile seeing that. Glue. So it seals like cement and it's not going anywhere. Even when the candle gets really hot towards the bottom, the wick is not going to go loose inside the candle, which is something that you don't want.
Correct.
So the wick that I used in this candle is an Eco 10 wick. And
even still, I'm not sure how that
what
burned.
You're going to want to do, because wick size really matters when it comes to the candle jar that you use. So with this wick, it is good for 2 to 3 inch diameter candles. So the diameter of this candle is about 2 1/3 inch. So it's perfect for this candle. I've already tested it before and it burns really clean all the way down. The fragrance oil that I'm going to be using today on this candle is Pumpkin Latte. It's by VA Candle Supply. And I'm going to be doing a 9% fragrance load inside of this 9-ounce candle jar. So the way that I was able to figure that out was I did 169, which is the amount of grams that I'm using, and I multiplied that by 9%. So that gave me 15.21. So I'm just going to do 15.2 grams inside of this. Once this has heated up till about 195 degrees, and then I'll let it cool down. It cools down pretty fast when I take it out of there. So I'm gonna pause it real fast. So my math was wrong, but that's okay because I was learning at the time. It's very common for beginners to just take the amount of weight that the jar can hold, multiply it by the fragrance oil percentage, and then you get that amount. That's gonna, you're gonna end up with way too much fragrance oil. It's gonna be a higher percentage of fragrance oil than what you think. So in this instance, I measured out 169 grams of wax. So that actually is not the number that you're going to base the calculations off of. You need to base the calculations off of the fill weight of the container. Again, I was just learning in this process, but it's really interesting to see in the beginning how I did everything and then kind of how I learned throughout the process. But yeah, that would be not the best calculations. And then I'll let it cool down. It cools down pretty fast when I take it out of there, and it'll cool down to probably between 160 and 170. I'll pour it, stir it for a little bit, and then not too long after I'll pour it. Okay, so what I said there was that I am going to heat it up to 195 degrees, remove it from the heat, let it cool down to about 160 to 170, then pour in the fragrance oil, stir it, and then pour it. That's not what I would recommend now. The heating up to 195, I don't think that that's a bad thing at all. I think heating up 190, 195 with soy 10 is great. I still do that now, but I immediately pour in the fragrance oil because you want it to be at a hot enough temperature for the fragrance oil to bind with the wax. You don't want to pour it at 160 to 170 because it's not going to be hot enough to bind with the wax and completely kind of blend together. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that I did that at that time. But yeah, I would definitely recommend doing it at a higher temperature. This could definitely explain why I would always get these weird, like, I would almost get a little bit of sweating at the top of my candles, or not really sweating, but just I wouldn't get a great cold throw. I always thought that soy 10 didn't have a good cold throw because I'm like, I would guess I was always adding in the fragrance at like 160, 165, which is way too low. I added in at between 185 and 195 now. And the cold throw is great. It just allows it to bind so much better. So this is really interesting. Able to hold the wick in place. It's really simple to just use clothespins
If you
it
can
gives
just
enough
use
room to be able to
clothespins, it's
pour,
the best.
But it still is able to hold the wick in place.
Love it.
I also have, this is actually a little skewer stick, I
Still
believe.
use it.
And it works really well for being able to just stir the fragrance oil, and then I'm able to just toss it right after once I'm done.
No,
also,
don't
something
toss
that's
it.
very
You can reuse
important,
it.
and I'm actually going to put it on right now, is a warning label for your candles. So if you're ever going to give it to somebody, or if you're looking to sell candles, you always want to have a warning label down at the bottom, which works really well because it also is able to cover up that red dot at the bottom. So that just goes like that.
Yeah, that red dot always bothered me.
Okay, so we're at, so the wax, there's only about 2 or 3 little clumps of wax left in there. Let me actually bring the camera around, I'll show you guys. Okay, so this is what it's looking like right now. I don't want to get too close because I know the steam is going to fog it up. So if we're looking at the temperature right now, it is just about at 190, 195, and it is pretty much completely melted. So I'm actually gonna
Is it touching the bottom of it though?
And then we'll let it cool down for a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and pour the fragrance.
So if it's touching, if the thermometer is touching the bottom of the aluminum pouring pitcher, it's actually going to show that it's hotter than it actually is. So it's better to only be touching the wax with the thermometer, because if it's touching around the bottom or the sides or something, it's actually going to appear hotter than what it actually is.
So while that's cooling, I'm going to measure out the fragrance oil. So I use the little gram scale. I have, you probably know them as like the little ketchup dispensers.
You gotta double it up because it's gonna seep out.
Places. So I just double stack those because the fragrance oil will sometimes soak through pretty fast on those. So I'll put that right on top. I'll tear it.
Those are tiny.
And then let's go ahead and measure. Let's see, can you guys see that? Oh, no, you can't. I'll bring it closer. So we're at 8.2, 10.2.
I still measure like that.
We're looking for
I feel like I've gotten better about kind of pouring around the area that it needs to be, but I still kind of pour like that.
14.5. Okay. 15.3. That's fine. So we're going to put that there. Let's see.
Also, I don't like working in decimals, and I try to avoid it when I can.
Between 170 and 165. So I'll take that out. I always wipe down.
Pour in the fragrance
on a paper towel right after.
Pour it in.
Put that to the side. And I want to be able to bring everything over here so you guys can actually see.
I remember.
Actually, I'm going to switch the camera angle real fast.
I remember this. I just let it sit there.
I am done measuring the fragrance oil. I'm going to pour it inside of here.
It was probably like lower than 160 by that point.
While I'm pouring, I might as well just let the rest of it drip into it.
I do still do that.
Because I want to get as much fragrance in there as possible. And to not waste it and just have it soak into the paper.
It probably did soak into the paper.
It's always hard to tell. Like, it's not the best way to tell when you're stirring it and it's this hot right after you put the fragrance oil in.
It's really intense.
The
Sometimes
best
you can't
way
tell
to
the fragrance.
is after you burn it for a couple hours and then you blow it out and you really can smell what that smells like.
You don't have to wait until you blow it out. You can smell it while it's burning, or even the cold throw. That's funny. You can't really smell the candle until you blow it out.
155. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pour it.
155.
Just right on the side.
Gosh, that is so cool to pour for soy 10. Careful, it's gonna get hot. I poured so slow too.
I chose not to do any dye. I'm not really doing too much dye right now.
See, that filled it up, huh?
That was a little bit, okay, so that was a little bit more than what I typically do.
Yeah, because the calculations.
So what that tells me
because the calculations.
Is that my scale is off.
No.
Because I was making
the
perfect amount with 169 grams of wax.
That's what tells me my
Wait, didn't I say
scale
at the
is
beginning
off.
of the video I did 169.4? Maybe that was my bad. Honestly, it probably was my bad. But
You
I
thought the
honestly think the scale
0.4
I need to get another one.
filled it up
Okay,
that
so
much
while that
higher?
cools, I just wanted to show you guys what it actually looks like. So this is the same exact candle size, just cooled down, and it is that
That looks
really
pretty.
pretty white color.
You can definitely
best
see the
part
frosting
about
on the
this
side,
wax,
though, but that's
it
normal.
is so creamy. It's never given me the sinkholes. So I
That's true.
absolutely love this wax. It is a little bit more expensive, but honestly, it's so worth it. It's so much more high quality than some of the other waxes, and especially a lot of the waxes that you can get at Hobby Lobby, Michael's. But if you are just doing this as a hobby, I would recommend just trying out and getting started with a cheaper kit. That way you know that it's something that you are interested in actually doing for a hobby.
It's very true.
Okay, so I hope you guys really enjoyed my video and learning how to make your own soy candles. If you have,
I love how like a little bit more reserved I was on camera. I was just getting started. I mean, I had been doing YouTube, but doing candle making videos and stuff like that was so new to me. And I also remember just being like, I hope I'm doing things right, or I hope that this video is gonna be helpful. Like I remember filming that and being like, I hope that I'm making sense. Like I hope that, you know, this is good and I'm giving good information. That was really kind of enjoyable to watch. Brings back a lot of memories of getting started with my candle business. That was like the OG, like the time of like getting started was Memory Box Candle Co. So that's very cool. I think I'm gonna end today's video right here. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you watching today's video and kind of going down memory lane with me. If you enjoyed this kind of video, make sure to leave it a thumbs up as well as subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, don't forget to follow me over on Instagram at Erica Marie Morris, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.